Nature made them wild and free, but humans chose to bring danger into their homes as pets. Is it a thrill or a fight against nature itself? Would you dare keep one of these deadly creatures in your house? Hyenas as pets? Think again. Some people believe they can raise a hyena as a pet, but that's a risky idea. One expert, yes, there are hyena experts, says the biggest problem is that owners have no patience. Training a hyena isn't like training a dog. These animals are wild, not domesticated. Even if you raise one from a baby, it will still have its natural instincts. If you don't respect that, things can get dangerous fast. Another major issue is their diet. Hyenas are used to hunting in the wild, not eating fast food or whatever scraps you have at home. If they don't get the right food, their health will suffer. And keeping one in a tiny apartment? That's a disaster waiting to happen. They need space to run, not a cramped living room. So, unless you have a huge backyard and know exactly what you're doing, maybe just stick to a regular pet, like a dog. Toddler plays with a giant crocodile. You won't believe this. Imagine a tiny toddler playing with a crocodile longer than she is. In Indonesia, where crocodiles aren't seen as terrifying monsters, a family raised one as a pet. They got it when it was just a baby. But crocs grow fast. Soon, it was over 4 feet long. Yet, instead of fear, the little girl saw it as a playmate. She climbed on it, hugged it, and treated it like any other pet. And the craziest part? The croc didn't mind at all. Even more shocking, the toddler wasn't just brave, she was completely fearless. She got right up to the crocodile's face like it was a puppy. Her family loved her bond with the massive reptile so much that they now hope she becomes a zookeeper one day. Imagine her future job interview. Do you have experience with animals? Want to see pictures of me and my pet crocodile? Hired on the spot. A cougar in the house. Keeping a cougar as a pet sounds like a wild idea, right? Well, in 2016, Alexander Dmitriev and his wife Maria did exactly that. They adopted a young cougar named Messi and brought him into their tiny studio apartment in Penza, Russia. Now, having a big cat in a small space isn't the smartest move. After all, even large dogs need room to roam. To keep things under control, they put Messi on a strict schedule, making sure he ate properly and stayed disciplined. His diet? A fancy mix of turkey, beef, chicken breast, and bones. But the real surprise? Messi wasn't just a house pet. He was on his way to becoming an internet star. Social media loves unusual pets, and Messi became a sensation almost overnight. With millions of views on YouTube and a huge Instagram following, he turned into a local celebrity. But let's be real. When people take in exotic pets, it often seems like their biggest goal is to turn them into social media stars. Whether Messi's owners truly believed a cougar belonged in a small apartment or just wanted fame, one thing was certain: this big cat was living a life unlike any other. A wild pet like no other. Finding a pig in someone's home isn't too strange, but adopting a 100-pound wild boar? Now, that's a different story. A couple found this boar alone in the woods, starving and weak, barely clinging to life. Instead of leaving it to die, they decided to rescue it. They took it in, fed it, and cared for it until it became part of their family. But here's the craziest part. This wild boar started acting like a pet dog. It got so comfortable with its new life that it even learned to pose on the stairs whenever its owners wanted a photo. Who would have thought a wild boar could become such a lovable pet? Kojak the pet crocodile. You won't believe this, but a family in Indonesia has a pet crocodile living in their backyard. Kojak the croc spends his days lounging in a small pool while laundry dries right beside him. The family's 3 kids even play ball games just a few feet away. Normally, a story like this would end with animal authorities stepping in. But not this time. Kojak has been with the family for over 20 years, and according to them, he's never hurt a single human. Well, except for one unfortunate cat, but apparently, the cat was aggressive and had it coming. Most people would be terrified to have a predator like this in their backyard, but for Erwin, the head of the family, it's no big deal. Crocodiles are known for their quick strikes and deadly instincts, but somehow Kojak has become more of a chill backyard companion. It's rare to hear about a pet croc that doesn't end in disaster, but here's one that has stood the test of time. Whether or not it's a good idea is another question, but so far, this wild pet has been nothing short of amazing. Koalas are cute but dangerous. Don't be fooled by their fluffy look. Koalas are not as harmless as they seem. These little tree huggers from Australia munch on eucalyptus leaves, which are actually poisonous. That's right, they eat toxic leaves to keep predators away. But because they look so adorable, people tend to ignore just how tough they really are. One koala named Henry found himself in trouble after getting separated from his mom. Luckily, an 11-year-old girl stepped in to rescue him. She cared for Henry until he was ready to go back into the wild. But just when he thought he was safe, danger struck again. The girl had to step in once more, and after a few tries, Henry finally returned to his wild koala life. The lazy but dangerous sloth. Sloths are slow, lazy, and spend most of their time hanging in trees. People either find them cute or completely useless. But one family didn't just love sloths, they actually adopted one. Ginny and Terry Koenig became proud owners of Enzo, a sloth born in captivity. They had wanted a sloth for years, though no one really knows why. Maybe they just liked unusual pets. But here's the funny part. Raising a sloth wasn't easy at all. They had to create the perfect environment, making sure Enzo felt right at home. And if you think sloths are harmless, think again. They may look slow, but when they decide to fight, they can be surprisingly strong, like a real-life one-punch man. The wild pet you can't own everywhere. Would you keep a pet that's part wild animal? The wolf dog is exactly that, a mix between a wild wolf and a regular dog. Because of its wolf blood, it can be a great guard dog, but it can also act like a wild predator, attacking if it feels threatened. This mix of loyalty and danger makes it a tricky pet, not just because of its instincts, but also because of the laws around it. Some places see wolf dogs as too dangerous to allow. In countries like Norway, they are completely banned because people fear they might attack others. But that hasn't stopped some people from keeping them as pets, believing they can tame their wild side. Cuddling with a giant bear. Would you ever snuggle with a 300-pound bear to stay warm? Well, Svetlana and Yuri Pantelenko do exactly that. While most people grab a blanket and sip hot cocoa in winter, this couple prefers to cuddle up with a massive brown bear. Yes, you heard that right. Their furry friend stands over 7 feet tall and could easily be dangerous. But for them, he's just a gentle, loving pet. It sounds crazy, but in their home, a bear hug is quite literal. Surprisingly, this bear isn't aggressive at all. He loves people, plays around like a big puppy, and has never bitten anyone. It's almost like something out of a fairy tale, except it's real. Should we be happy for them? Absolutely. Should we try this ourselves? Not a chance. Cheetahs as pets. Most people think of cheetahs as wild animals, not house pets. But in South Africa, 2 siblings, Milan and Kayla, have grown up with 2 cheetahs, Waku and Skyla, as part of their family. These big cats aren't just pets, they're best friends. The kids share their toys with them, and even take them for rides in their mini Jeep. It's a rare and unbelievable bond, but for Milan and Kayla, it's just everyday life. But how did these cheetahs become part of their home? Their parents adopted the cubs from a nearby game lodge after a wild cheetah gave birth to 4 babies. They never planned to keep them forever, though. The family has been teaching the cheetahs how to hunt, hoping they'll return to the wild one day. But for now, Waku and Skyla are more like giant house cats, living and playing with the children as part of their family. The crazy obsession with pet tigers. You won't believe how far some people go to own a tiger. Tigers are one of the most wanted exotic pets, and some people do crazy things just to get one. Remember Joe Exotic? Of course you do. He raised tons of tigers at his infamous zoo and acted like they were his best friends. But guess what? Many of them attacked him and his workers, leaving them with serious injuries. Shocking, right? But some people take it even further and break the law just to bring a tiger home. Actually tried to smuggle a tiger cub in a suitcase. The poor thing was unconscious, so it wouldn't be noticed at the airport. Seriously, how do people come up with these ideas? The empty animal arc. This isn't just a story about someone with a strange pet. It's about a man who turned his home into a wildlife rescue. Dr. Prakash Amte and his wife Mandakini created a shelter for over 90 wild animals, including jackals, leopards, hyenas, porcupines, an Indian python, a crocodile, peacocks, sloth bears, and more. Their sanctuary, recognized as a rescue shelter in 1991, has become a popular place for visitors, especially children. But how did it all begin? It started when Dr. Prakash saw local tribes hunting animals, even baby ones, for food. Instead of letting them be killed, he made a deal. He traded food like rice in exchange for the baby animals. His first rescue was a tiny monkey, and from there, his shelter grew. While not everyone can do this, his work is truly inspiring. Hunting for survival is one thing, but wiping out young animals is cruel and harms their population. Thanks to Dr. Prakash and his wife, many animals now have a safe home. The tame reindeer with a wild past. Most people think reindeer are harmless, but those antlers can be dangerous if they get scared. A wild reindeer might not be the best thing to cross paths with, but for one named Atu, life took a different turn. As a calf, he was abandoned by his mother in the freezing Finnish wilderness. Luckily, a young boy found him and later brought him to a woman named Miss Tukkanen, who took care of him like family. Over the years, Atu changed from a lonely, shy animal into a reindeer with surprising habits. He now eats meals from a plate at the dinner table like a house pet. That's what you call proper raising. But even the tamest reindeer still have their instincts. Just hope Atu never decides to step in front of a speeding car. Iguana that thinks it's a dog. You won't believe this, but an iguana is acting just like a dog. Normally, iguanas aren't seen as dangerous pets, and they don't usually show much emotion. But this one is different. It lives in someone's backyard and greets its owner just like a loyal pup. When the owner comes home and calls out, "Come on, buddy," the iguana rushes over, excited to see them. That's not something you see every day. Now, I have to know what kind of training this guy used, because if I could teach lizards to act like dogs, I'd make a fortune. Iguanas are usually only active when hunting or defending themselves, not when showing affection. But this one, it wags its tail, well, almost, and comes running like a happy puppy. It's amazing to see, and if you've ever thought lizards were just cold and unfeeling, this little guy proves otherwise. A man and his pet lion. Most people get a dog or a cat as a pet, but this man from Pakistan took things to a whole new level. He got a lion. Not just any lion, but a fully grown male named Babar, who roams freely around his house like he owns the place. When the man first bought Babar as a cub, the little guy already weighed over 12 stone, 168 pounds, and devoured 17 pounds of raw meat daily. Now, 2 years later, he's even bigger, living in pure luxury with his own king-sized bed, double mattress, and air conditioning. Some people don't even get treated this well. Keeping a wild animal as a pet isn't exactly the smartest idea, but the owner doesn't seem to care. He proudly lets Babar run around the family's lavish bungalow as if he's just another house cat. But let's be real, one wrong move and this pet could turn into a serious danger. A lion's instincts can never be fully tamed, and if Babar ever decides to act wild, the consequences would be terrifying. Still, the man doesn't seem worried. If anything, he's probably busy bragging about having the most extreme pet in town. Raising a kangaroo like a daughter. Kangaroos might look cute in movies, but in real life, they can knock you down with a single kick. So who would be crazy enough to keep one as a pet? Well, an Australian comedian named Jackson O'Doherty did just that. He found a tiny baby kangaroo on the side of a highway near Sydney and decided to raise her as his own. He named her Damien, and from that moment on, they became inseparable. Damien grew up thinking Jackson was her dad, and she even chases him around for fun, sometimes on the beach. Jackson recorded their adventures together, and their videos are full of adorable moments. But let's be honest, if he had tried this with a full-grown kangaroo, the story might have ended very differently. Giant pythons as pets. Most people think small snakes are safe as pets, especially if they're not venomous. The worst that can happen is a bite if they get annoyed. But some people want the biggest snakes possible. That includes a young girl named Emmy, who has 2 massive pet pythons named Sunny and Cher. But this wasn't love at first sight. Emmy's family got the snakes when she was just 4 years old. Now, years later, she adores them. That would be cute, if not for the fact that these snakes are over 15 feet long and strong enough to crush her in seconds. But despite their size, these pythons are surprisingly gentle. They've never shown aggression toward Emmy or her family. They don't hiss, strike, or act defensive. They're just calm, massive pets that she's grown up with. Still, it makes you wonder, if they ever cuddled her too tightly, would it be a case of, "I got you, babe"? You know, because their names are Sunny and Chur. Jessica the friendly hippo. Most people only know hippos from cartoons like Madagascar or the game Hungry Hungry Hippos. They seem like fun, hungry animals, but in real life, hippos are one of the most dangerous creatures on Earth. They can flip boats, charge at people, and even kill with little effort. But here's a surprise. There's a famous pet hippo named Jessica. She was found as a starving baby along the banks of the Blyde River in South Africa and taken to a rescue center. Instead of growing up aggressive, Jessica was raised by humans and learned to live peacefully with them. But there's a shocking twist. Jessica isn't just a pet. She's now a tourist attraction where visitors can pay to pet her. She's even called an ambassador for hippos. Sounds like a sweet story, right? Well, not all pet hippos have a happy ending. Another man in South Africa had a pet hippo, but one day it turned on him and bit him in half. Jessica might just be a rare exception. So, what do you think about people keeping wild animals as pets? Would you keep a deadly pet? Let us know and subscribe for more.